Swayam Prabha. Digital India. Educated India.
Hello everyone, we will discuss about various perspectives around sustainability in this lecture. So I've taken this graph. It talks about sustainability at multi-level perspective. So it has taken actually, as you can see on the left side, four aspects on which it is trying to draw an illustration like how sustainability evolves over time, how sustainability interacts with the different agents. Okay, and these aspects which are on the left side, okay, there is an interaction also happening between them over the factor of like time. So as I said earlier, sustainability is a dynamic concept. Sustainability actually interacts, okay, with the context on the site, off the site. Sustainability actually there are factors which interact with the other factors, okay, and in turn they result with something, okay, result in certain ways, okay. Based on that result, several new things actually born. So it's a whole actually systemic actually an activity where there is actually a progression based on the interaction between the factors. So if we see the whole ecosystem of this planet, so we humans as a species have become a very important actually stakeholder. Okay, so here with the actually pace at which we have taken our growth and development, other activities to satisfy our needs, okay, and we have taken different ways of creating our habitation over here, okay, sourcing our food from here, sourcing and meeting our different other types of needs over here. So that has taken a toll that we have already discussed. So we have become a very important actually stakeholder in this ecosystem. Apart from us, well, of course, the natural balance of this planet is one of the things, but it has actually certain we can call it as like a universal actually principles of how elements are going to behave in the given circumstances. So for example, how water is going to behave, okay, on a given temperature water will behave in certain way, on the other given temperature water will behave in some other ways. And the kind of resources whatever we are sourcing, they are all lying around in this nature, okay, whether it is a man-made objects like plastics, whether it is a steel, whether it is like a glass. So most of these actually elements are existing in the natural actually environment, okay, in this nature. But most of our new creations which are polymers, and several other composite materials and things, okay, they are very useful, their application is very specific, okay, they actually give us desired actually abilities through which we can actually perform certain functions. We utilize them into our a daily lives. Like for example, there are several for example electronics. So electronics actually consumes a lot of metals, precious metals, rare earth metals, several types of actually metals. So some of them are not so bad for the environment, but some of them are really bad for the normal life like us and other living beings. We actually extract those animals from the nature. So wherever they are currently, okay, they are lying in a kind of a unreactive state, okay, mostly, well, not all, but most of them are lying in an unreactive, unharming actually state. We actually collect them, we actually create a concentrated form of them, okay, we change their chemical composition, okay, we actually bring them into a certain form of a compound, okay, and that compound actually carries certain characteristics which are not so good for the environment, and that is where the whole problem actually starts. So even if we are able to meet our certain needs by using them, but they are not so good for the environment. So as we can see over here on these four aspects of a time, landscape, socio-technical regime and niches. So how this actually the sustainability actually moves, sustainability actually flows around actually these steps. Well, time is an universal factor. Okay, so time is always moving ahead. Time has like a certain effects and things change over time. So that's actually generic principle. Even this nature, okay, it has not been into this exact form for like forever. Okay, this has been transforming itself into like a this for a very long time. Okay, there is a that time span of this actually balance, okay, being there, that is in like a lakhs of years and millions of years. So there have been like a cycles of like a such like a phenomena on the planet Earth, and this actually current phase is also part of actually that cycle, and we are currently at this present stage. So the question arises, if there is any disturbance, then what will happen? But anyways, so on the landscape, if you see the landscape on this actually aspect, okay, things move in like of course the forward direction. So landscape actually developments exert pressure on the regime, which thereby opens up in different dimensions and creates opportunities for new technologies and practices. So with the landscape here, we mean the context of the applications and uses of like things and goods and materials and techniques. So for them actually we develop certain technologies. For example, I just spoke, we extract some certain minerals and certain metals, okay, to utilize them for like certain purposes. Okay, so that is a very specific actually need, and for which actually we create actually certain technologies, okay, and practices to use them. Okay, so this actually also gives a kind of a boost to like how the sustainability is going to be like. Okay, so it always carries an influencing actually role, and from here only as you can see this green dotted line. Okay, so this is connecting to this niches aspect. So this talks about external impacts on niches, so via expectations and networks. So what is happening like in the context we discussed earlier, there is always an two types of like a local and external. So local and external. So local is very like rooted to that place. So for example, like a vernacular architecture. So the vernacular architecture is a form of architecture which is rooted to a place. Okay, so it has evolved at that place, which is rooted at that place. It uses the climatology, it uses the resources, like for example the types of like trees available, okay, the types of like a bushes and grass available over there. Like for example, we see like these thatch houses and mud houses. So they do not actually bring their resources, the construction material from elsewhere. Okay, they gather up resources from the place itself and just build the house. Okay, so that is one very strong and major characteristics of an architecture, like a vernacular architecture. If you go to Rajasthan, you will see architecture in stone. If you go to Assam, you will see a lot of like a use of like a mud and bamboo and thatch. If you go to like a southern states, like for example like a Kerala, you will see a lot of again like a timber based this thing, and a lot of like pitched roofing, because that place actually experiences a lot of like rain. So these things are very local. But if you see the external actually part of this like a context, so the like a human behavior, human practices, the cultural values, they actually spread on a like a larger footprint. Okay, so they go like they overlap between like different states of like today's time. So how these things also have like some effect, like how the architecture in the southern India as a whole has evolved over time. Okay, so there are major such things, they actually also influence it on the sustainability parameters. On the third one, if you here you see there are several like a small actually terms given over here, like for example industry, science, culture, market and user preferences, policy and technology. Well, all of these have certain bearing on the evolution of like a material culture and product culture on any given place. Okay, on the overall sustainability, because the product culture itself is responsible for like a like a sustainability. It is directly related with the sustainability, how it's going to be. So there in this region, if you see, there is an interplay. Okay, there is an interplay. They're actually moving between one to another. They're shaping each other. They're influencing each other, and they are turning into a new actually geometry altogether. So the geometry which started from here and geometry which turned out here is different. Okay, so that is actually the game of time actually, on which like how things evolve, how things shape each other, how things get shaped by the other stakeholders, by the other agents, by the other factors. So this is how actually we are we are landing towards a new region which influences the landscape. Okay, so with the combination of like such, if there is a change observed in any of these, okay, so there will be a change, a major change possible on the overall resultant. Okay, but that also depends. There may be a big change against a small change, or there may be a small change against a big change. Okay, there may be a no change, there may be a certain different kind of change, or there may be a something new happening altogether. So this is like unpredictable. This is unpredictable on the like a how things go. But yes, in the today's time of like a research and development, the scientist and as a sustainability science, okay, we are studying this phenomena, like how things actually evolve over time, and what are the changes if we exert in one domain, so how it's going to result the other domains. Okay, and that is the whole actually scientific study around like sustainability. And it is being predicted कि like all of these like carbon emissions and things which we are discussing, okay, they are interrelated with here. Okay, so if we keep actually exerting a lot of like a footprint, okay, so how it's going to evolve, like, okay, how the whole scenario of this planet is going to be like. Okay, so those are actually things which are being tried to actually from this diagram to explain. Okay, let's go to this the last one, the niches. This talks about like minor networks of actors support innovations on the basis of expectations and visions. Learning processes take place at different dimensions. Okay, the next one, elements are connected and stabilized in a dominant design. The internal momentum increases. The last one, the new configuration breaks the through using windows of opportunity. This is coupled with broader adjustments in the socio-technical region. So in this one, if you see, there is a lot of like a small actually multi-directional factors which are like moving forward. Okay, so these are actually like a small like a networks of like a actors who actually affect the overall like a system. Okay, so as we have seen in the system mapping and like a system design exercise, okay, these small actors and agents, they also play to shape like the final actually outcome of like any like any system. So this is very important to understand actually these also like what kind of influences it will be. So this is finally helping to shape the final actually regime, like how it's going to be like. Let's move on. Okay, and in this slide there are some actually observations I would like to bring to your notice. So there are actually two actually graphs on this slide. So the first one actually talks about the state of the world. So let's just see the first one, state of the world. In the state of the world, it is being observed the resources, okay, they are falling down. You see this graph, this actually line. Okay, so the resources are falling down because resources, the amount of resources is finite. Okay, and there has been a tremendous actually rate at which these resources have been consumed in the last like several decades and last like 2 centuries. Okay, so this is going down. The next one, the line of this population is of course increasing. This is the base year like a 2000, this is 1900, and this is a projected year 2100. So this population is of course rising. Okay, it's rising with the like a help of persistent efforts from like a different governments and agencies and like a health sector. It is being projected that population may start coming down in the like a next like a 50 years. Okay, so well we are already here at 2020. Okay, and then it's going to increase even further around the year of 2035 to 40. It is being projected, okay, that it may start actually going down gradually, but well, it is still unknown. It's just a projection. So how successful these efforts will be, that we are yet to see. But anyways, it is being projected that it's going to come down, which is a good sign. Okay, but on the contrary, pollution, if you see, it's increasing exponentially, and it's going high and high and high. Okay, in the last lecture we discussed like how the several big economies and countries, they have pulled out of the like platforms where the governments actually take this commitment to reduce the overall like ecological footprints. Okay, so they are pulling out. That means they are not ready to cooperate to save on these actually factors. So in turn, it's very direct and very like evident that pollution is going to like increase like ever exponentially, which may actually create a catastrophic situation. Okay, so and yeah, resources and food is like a coming down, pollution is going up, population is, it is predicted that it may come down, and industrial output is also projected that it's rising, and it may come down. Well, again, it's a projection, we will see. Let's go to the next actually table. So here in this one we are talking about human welfare and footprint. So in this one, okay, we are seeing this human welfare index is rising. This is year base year 2020. It may also come down, which is not a good state of like affair, because if that human welfare is going to come down, that means like there will be miserable conditions for the humanity to see. Okay, there may be short supply of food, there may be short supply of like resources, there may be short supply of like other recreational thing, there may be short supply of like other critical resources like education, or habitation, housing and other stuff. So this is not a good actually state of affair. And yeah, so this is being actually, if we combine these two actually graphs, okay, so we can conclude that with this actually the rate of the growth of like a population, with the decline in the resources, with the increasing like pollution, okay, the human welfare index is projected to suffer, to take a toll in the next like a 50 years or so. So this may create actually imbalance, this may create actually other like a bad situations like civil war, like a you know like a hunger based actually tolls may increase. Okay, there may be displacement and migration happening in different like parts of the like a different countries. Okay, people may be forced to move out of their actually places because of the climatic situations, because of the actually bad economics of that place. Okay, industries may go down, the overall livelihood may start to like a suffer and all. So these kind of actually catastrophic events are actually kind of being like projected. If it doesn't on these sides, if we still continue to consume the resources at the same rate, and if the pollution is going to keep rising on the same rate, so these are the kind of projected events which the world may have to see tomorrow. Let's move on. So why sustainability is so important that we should be bothered about it? Okay, so if you see like this slide, okay, it's not just the humans who are the habitants of this actually planet. It's the different plants, the different animals, different birds, all of them actually, they are the equal stakeholders of this planet. Okay, they all actually deserve, they all actually need this planet for their survival. Okay, so why this situation is coming over here, that some of these plants and animals, they are disappearing. Okay, as a species they are vanishing from this planet, because this planet is not any longer able to provide sustainable actually life condition for their existence. So this becomes very questionable, like what is the cause of it? Well, as we can see, post industrialization, human society has caused a lot of like a tremendous harm to the planet. Okay, so there is a direct actually connection between the development and like the loss of the like other different species on this planet. So it says as many as half may be gone by the end of this century. This is really disastrous. Like there are several like species which are at this brink of like a completely vanishing from this planet, as large as half of like this thing by the end of this century, like a 2000, like when was the year like 2100 we when we reach. Okay, so that year we may be witnessing a huge number of actually species vanishing from actually this planet. So this is actually very bad actually situation, how we are going to deal with this situation. Okay, so yeah, so and it says like an Armageddon is approaching at the beginning of the third millennium. But it is not the cosmic war and fiery collapse of mankind foretold in the sacred scriptures. It is the wreckage of the planet by an exuberantly plentiful and ingenious humanity. Well, this is said by like a Wilson in year 2002. So this is all in the name of like growth and development, okay, which is creating such an havoc to the planet. So what are the different actually sustainability like perspectives? So there are five major ones. We will see one by one. The conventional economist perspective, like we have to maintain the equilibrium, we have to maintain the balance. And then the second one, non-environmental degradation perspective. Okay, the third one, integrational perspective, that is encompassing the economic, environmental, and social aspects. The fourth one, intergenerational perspective, and the fifth one, holistic perspective that combines integrational and intergenerational perspective. So here, this talks about actually integrating the actually society, integrating the actually different species, and talking about the intergeneration. That means like not just this generation in which we are living, okay, for the future generations also, okay. And for actually like a handling like a such situation, United Nations has come up with 17 sustainable development goals, okay. We know them generally as SDGs, UN SDGs. So these are the 17 actually SDGs which actually are framed to cater to the different actually catastrophic situations which may occur for humans, for like a different like a species of the like animals, for like a birds, for reptiles, for aquatic life, for like a vegetation, okay, for the like resources of this planet, for the natural elements of this planet, for each and everything from which actually this planet is composed of, this biosphere is composed of. Actually these SDGs are trying to solve their problems through these 17 actually SDGs. So these 17 SDGs are actually self-sufficient to address any of sustainability related issues right now across the countries. Okay, so it starts from the like a first one which talks about no poverty. So no poverty, as we can see, like the bad economic situation of any like an individual or any household is can cause actually a toll on the future of the next generation, because if that family is not able to feed properly to their like family members, okay, this malnourishment is going to cause several like diseases situations, okay, for their like a newborns, for their like a adults, for their like a ladies in the house, okay. And the second one talks about like zero hunger. Even if like a humanity has developed so much in like a recent times, but there are still a very sizable number of people across like different countries, okay, who are still very in a difficult situation to feed for themselves, to fend for themselves. They are not able to meet actually two meals per day. So this number is still very huge. So it puts a big question on all of this growth and development efforts and the economic like systems, like how well we are doing on like these terms. So yeah, this zero hunger comes right next to it, and it is one of the very important ones. The third one is about good health and well-being. Of course, for maintaining like a good life, a good like a psychophysical condition, okay, we must have a good health and well-being, okay, not just physically, even mentally. So this has taken an attention in the recent times to maintain the balance of like a physical as well as like a mental capacity of any human being. The fourth one, quality education. Well, education has the potential that's with the help of that one can change their future, they can change their actually livelihood, they can get a better actually opportunity for like a professional life, for their occupational life, for like a funding for themselves, for like earning actually livelihood. So education is an empowering actually agent in today's society, and it is proven, but it is proven with the like examples of like you and me in the society who have educated themselves and who are at least become usable for as a usable resource for this actually society. And that is why actually this human resource must actually receive the quality education. The fifth one is about the gender equality. As a society, we must be sensitive towards the all of the like members of our society, whether they are the like female members, whether they are the specially able like people, you know So this gender equality and this thing is addressed by this one. And sixth one talks about like clean water and sanitation. Water is very important, and there are n number of like diseases which born actually out of the bad conditions of the water. So this should be addressed, and there are several like countries which we have seen in the like a previous like a lecture. So they are not doing so good on the like a well-being of like a humanity. Okay, so in those countries especially, these water-based diseases and these actually situations are very common. The seventh one, affordable and clean energy. So that well, energy is the prime region for taking up any enterprise, for doing any like a task these days. So energy has become very important, but it should be clean. So there is this focus of being it like clean. So like it is in a kind of shown through this graphic, like a solar energy is considered to be one of the clean ones. So we should focus towards that, those clean energy sources. This eighth one talks about like decent work and economic growth, so that everyone gets like a opportunity of like a working opportunity of like a professional life, so that they can register a kind of economic growth for themselves and their families. The next one, the ninth, it says about industry, innovation, and infrastructure. Well, for growth and development, infrastructure is very important, because with the help of this infrastructure, we create like our spaces for like habitation, spaces for like our working, spaces for like a manufacturing, and etc. So this is important. And the tenth one, it talks about reduced inequalities. Inequalities means that everybody should be considered at par with each other. There should not be any in equilibrium in the society. Nobody is bigger, nobody is smaller. Okay, everybody has the equal rights. Everybody should get the equal opportunities. The 11th one talks about sustainable cities and communities, so that all of these efforts are being done to create like a sustainable like habitation system, sustainable like societies, sustainable communities, where we can interact with each other, where we can live happily with each other, where we can support each other, along with being in the sync with the nature. The 12th one, responsible consumption and production. So as we have seen, like as the number of like a people are rising, and as the like a consumerism is rising, it is putting a lot of stress. So we must put a check on this actually consumption based actually practices. The 13th one talks about climate action. Well, there is a lot of big effects like GHG emissions, so greenhouse effect is happening, global warming is happening. These are the major scale actually events which are the resultant of the mindless actually growth and development post like industrialization. So we should establish our like practices to check the effects which are happening due to the change in the like climatic patterns. The fourth one talks about life below the water. So one must not ignore the aquatic life, because these lives are also very important, equally important in the water, like how they are actually supporting the life on the soil by being in the water is also like is proven by the like a scientific like researches and all. So on the land, in the water, okay, in the air, okay, so land, water, and air, in all these three actually mediums. So at the confluence of these three, we have this biosphere where the life is actually possible. So in the depths of the water, or maybe in the extreme of the space, or even in the deeper in the like a core of the earth, there is no life possible, or at least we do not know of it. So the life which we know is existing in the confluence of these three. So we must protect actually these elements. So even in the water, to keep actually alive these different aquatic forms which cannot actually come and claim their rights in front of us. The 15th one talks about life on land. So of course life on land is also very important. We talked about in these two over here. Okay, and the 16th one is like a peace, justice, and strong institutions. So peace, justice, and strong institutions are very important to have actually social balance in the human society. So as a social life, as a social animal, we are very much actually responsible to create such institutions, such actually practices which actually give rise and support to our like peace, justice, and such like a value system in our society. Otherwise it may start like it may go back to the older times, where there was actually, in the absence of like such value systems, there used to be a lot of wars and different kind of like negative events. So one must not actually be learn from the history and work for improvement of such value systems for the present and the future. And the last one, it talks about like partnerships for the goal. So one cannot actually achieve such goals independently. Okay, one is not actually strengthened and empowered to do such to take up such a, like a Herculean task at the global level and accomplish. So we need like everyone's like a cooperation and handshake, friendship, and this thing to as a whole to combine and achieve these stages. So, well, when we see like these dominant mental map of relating SDGs to sustainability elements. So, how is it happening? If you see like this graph over here, so this talks about like these three aspects, like a social, environmental, and economic over here. So on these, if you see, SDGs are shown as points, like a water is one like a SDG element, this consumption is one SDG element, energy is one, land, climate, oceans, these cities, partnerships, hunger, health, poverty, education, growth, equality, gender, peace, infrastructure. All of these are like a UN SDGs point, which we just saw in the previous slide. And sustainability elements are shown as the arrows over here. You see here, this arrow, this arrow, this arrow, this arrow. Okay, so they are actually if you see, some of these SDGs are actually overlapping between like a some like a sustainability like a elements, so some sustainability aspects. For example, energy is common between here, between these two. Okay, so this actually gives us a mental map of relating like SDGs, which one falls where. So from here actually we can devise our like action points. Okay, to move forward with our like objectives which we derive from the like a previous slide. So with these actually 17 UN SDGs, okay, we must work out actually action points and start working, okay, in these three actually aspects of like a ESC aspects of sustainability, okay, so that we can deal with the given situation in a respectable way. So that is the actually whole idea of this actually studies of like sustainability science actually these days. So let me show some like novel efforts which are being taken up across the world and how much they are faring. Okay, so this actually slide talks about, like, if you see this city Zurich. Okay, so this city of Zurich has taken a position of like a 1. Okay, and it leads the way on urban sustainability. Okay, so in terms of like urban sustainability, Zurich has become a role model in today's context. Bifurcation of these ESC aspects you can see, like the people, planet, and profit. So on the people front, it has received like a 27. Okay, on the planet front, it has received 1. On the profit front, it has received like a 5. So as a combination of these, okay, it is kept at number 1 position. The second one comes Singapore. So in Asian cities, in the Asian like continent, okay, Singapore is leading the this actually the pace of like a such a responsible actually development, okay, which is the sustainable development model. The next ones, there are several like cities like London, Amsterdam, Hong Kong, Sydney, New York, and several other. So you can visit to get the details, like what are the kind of efforts being made in different cities in the different countries. Okay, in what ways they are dealing with the like a sustainable development, how they are handling it, and it is very interesting to actually draw insights the kind of effort. Like you may be all aware of like a city of like Amsterdam. How do they support the activity of like cycling? So the prime minister of that country himself used to actually cycle to his office. How amazing is that? Okay, we do not generally see like such efforts, persistent efforts on a daily basis, coming from like a different world leaders. Because for as a token gestures, they may cycle or they may take a metro like a 1 or 2 days. Okay, but they don't do it regularly. Well, it has like a several reasons for them to not to go for like a such thing. But yes, a consistent and a regular like a practice, okay, can bring a change, which could be taken as a like a green effort in this thing. So Amsterdam is very friendly for the like a cyclists. and the local traffic laws and regulations, they give actually preference to the pedestrians and cyclists. So this is also protected by the act of law, like the cyclist will be given a dedicated track, you know, the safety and security of them while riding and while parking their cycles at different places, stations, buildings, and so such infrastructure, such supportive infrastructure is actually designed and provided to them. So it's a holistic approach, which supports this noble cause, and it's not possible without that. So that holistic approach is very important. So yes, maybe you can read further about the different sustainable efforts being made across the world. Okay, and yeah, in this one here it talks about like how the calorie demand, like food, okay, of the humans has going to increase in the next few decades. So from 2010 to 2050, it is projected that there will be an increase of by like a 53%. Okay, and in the land footprint, it's going to shrink by 16%. So we see a contrast, we see a very high contrast over here. Okay, so how this is going to up, and this resources and the land is going to come down. So how we will meet actually this demand is the challenge actually. Okay, so we are almost at the end of this portion of this lecture 3. So you can see what comes to your mind by seeing just this picture. Don't look at the text. Okay, it looks like a very beautiful piece of like a photography. Okay, this actually picture is a image from like a satellite. This shows the lithium rich water sitting in the evaporation ponds in the country of like Chile. The lithium batteries which we generally use in our like today's like every electronics, every like a laptops, the mobile phones, the pads, most of these gadgets, Bluetooth gadgets, they carry actually high powered batteries. Okay. So those batteries are actually powered by a lithium ion like battery. So lithium has become a new age actually material and an element which is of very critical importance for our electronics gadget for powering them. Okay, so lithium actually being harvested over there, and this satellization. So as a like volunteer assignment to this actually lecture, maybe you can go back to your house. Okay, and you can Google more about what is lithium and how do they extract and what are the environmental repercussions of like lithium. Thank you very much.